All right, guys, welcome back to the Mallard Creek Book Study podcast. We are very excited after a little bit of a break. Sorry for missing our January episode. We had a massive snowstorm, but we're back, and today is our fourth installment in our G.R.E.A.T Great series. We're going to be talking about ambition. All right, well, let's start off. Everyone, introduce yourself. We do have a special guest today. And answer the question, if your mood or day, how you're doing today. Let's go with that. If how you're doing today was an ice cream flavor, what would it be? I'll start off. I'm Andrew Brissy. I'm the Mallard Creek Book Study team captain. And I would definitely be Superman today.
I'm Jada Bowen, and I think that butter pecan just describes everything. Thank you.
I'm Morgan Bradley, and I would say mint chocolate chip.
Well, that's a good one.
I'm Aiden Wynn, and I would say cookies and cream.
I'm Maya Chambers. I coordinate leadership, and I would say vanilla.
Okay. Yeah. I'm Zameen Forehand. I would have to go for dirt and worms. Dirt and worms. It's so good.
That was ice cream.
I'm Caitlin Hash. I think I would say strawberry. And a little bit about myself and why I'm here. I'm student government president. I'm captain of the cheerleading team and captain of the varsity flag football team. So I am a student here at Mallard Creek and pretty humble.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Well, let's dive into it. Aiden, do you have a quote from you have a brain book?
I do. I want to start with, you weren't created to live an average life. You were created to excel.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that quote, especially talking about like you were created to excel, like saying kind of like how you shouldn't limit yourself. But I think a question that brings that up in my mind is, how do you balance like realisticness with intense ambition? Because at times you can be like, oh, I don't want to limit myself to, oh, I can do this, I can do that, because there are quotes that say, oh, you can do it if you think it, like those type of quotes. But you also have to be realistic in who you are, your environment, what you do throughout the day. Like, there's only 24 hours in the day. Like, you also have to be really realistic. So I think that brings up the question, what can you do and how do you balance that? I think that's a great question that, our guest could answer, seeing as how you balance so much throughout the day, throughout the year, being that you're so involved. Like, how would you balance being realistic and when you're feeling intense motivation and ambition?
I would say those expectations are not constant. Every day it's different. Some days you're going to feel 100, some days you're going to feel 20, and you just have to work based on how you feel that day. And if you're feeling off a few days, you're going to know you're going to have to pick up some slack if you want to reach your goals and do what you achieve. You're going to have to pick up the slack. And of course, it's important to put yourself first, but your future is ultimately what you make it, and what you do is a result of the work that you put in. So it's important to make sure that, as well as, putting yourself first, working on yourself, you're also doing the things that are going to put you ahead.
I like that a lot. I would say that some of the ways that I have, some of the positions that I have in high school, I would also say that I've been in different positions where I could have overextended myself. But the way that I really was able to maintain focus and not get too far into stress and anxiety was prioritization. So for me, every morning I have a board in the top left corner of my mirror, and it's got goals on there, and it's also got habits, but then it also has priorities. And so I always knew that for however extracurricular or leadership positions that I wanted to be a part of, number one priority was going to be grades. Then it would be family and God, and then it would be the sports, the leadership positions, like whatever, however that is. And that really helped me to prioritize what's happened in my past. But now as I'm looking at some of the bigger goals for my future, I see what you're saying. Like, it can sound really overly ambitious to say, I want to be a politician in the United States government one day. So what I have to do is I have to look at what's going to be my process first. So I'm going to focus on the habits and structure of my life that will one day put me on that track. So I focus on the process, not always just the end goal, but I have the end goal in mind. But sometimes if we make things too big, we may never even start, which is something I've learned from like marketing or entrepreneurship books.
That actually leads me to wonder, does anybody have a specific way that you kind of remind yourself of your ambitions or keep yourself on track with your goals or anything like that?
You
fine.
go ahead.
I would say writing them down. We talked about reflection and things like that, and writing stuff down and journaling, and how we think about our goals. And I think writing it down is just the simplest way to remind yourself of what in the world you're doing. Because you don't write it down. Well, at least for me, I don't write it down. I forget about it. I'll write something down. I have to look at it. It's just more about staying who you are and staying where you are and putting it on a piece of paper.
And how do you figure out who you are? Like, how do we put all of our information together to figure out what kind of person we are? What kind of ambitions do we have? What we're going to write down? Is there any way that anyone has any specific sort of way that they would put that kind of information together?
I think when you think about identity, I'm talking to a group of high schoolers right now. And in high school is when you learn a lot about who you are and who you're going to be. And I think that the truth is a lot of students and people today, they feel very resigned for their state that they're in, whether that's financially or relationally or the skills or education they have. But the truth is, everyone at this table right now has an opportunity to shoot for a goal, to be ambitious, because we live in a world with lots of opportunities. We have new information being spread online. Social media lets us network on a new level. AI lets us learn skills that were not available to past generations. Like, we all have an opportunity to do something different. But with that being said, with identity, I am big on kind of setting a no list. I call it a no list. It's really like about boundaries for myself. So I know that no matter whatever position I am, I will not. For me, it starts with I will not compromise my relationship with God. Whether we're talking about money, relationships, friendships, I will not compromise a relationship with God. That's my first no list. Second, I will not do anything that separates me from my relationship with my family. Right? See where I'm going with this? Then third, it could be in ROTC. We always say Army J.R.E.A.T cadets will not
Like cheat or steal.
lie to cheat or steal. I added that to a part of my no list. Right? I added that I will not let a girl come before my friends, right? That was just something I learned over high school, that my friends are very consistent in my life. I want to keep them. So we're all learning our identity. I think you're slowly going to add on to that, but being consistent to that is what helps me find who I am. What about you, Aiden? You're on a little bit of a different stage of life. You're just a little bit younger than me. I'm ready to go to college, right? You're looking at a big leadership position in G.R.E.A.T next year, and you're a dual sport athlete as well. So tell me a little bit about how you are able to stay true to who you are in high school.
I think just taking some time to yourself to really look into what all you're doing right now, just to see what you can balance. That's like one really big part of ambition, is that you can't do too much. So just knowing what you can do is really important.
Like knowing your limits.
Yeah, exactly.
I really like what you said about boundaries for yourself. And I also think that boundaries, not just for yourself, but for other people, they don't have to be harsh. They don't have to be like, I'm not going to do this. But I really think it's important for other people to know that you do have boundaries for yourself, because my coach says this thing, and she says, your body is a temple, first of all, and if you don't treat yourself well, that lets others know how they'll treat you. I think that is like such a powerful thing to say, because if you don't put your boundaries first in your own body, then how are other people also going to know your boundaries and put those first as well? So I really like what you said about your no list and how you put boundaries for yourself.
That's a really good point. That actually reminds me of how sometimes when we're not like confident with ourselves, we'll often feel so average that we have to take multiple steps that are away from our boundaries or that are just not good for your bodies at all. It's really cool that you say that and that your coach is saying that, because oftentimes I hear stories of coaches and teachers and other people kind of putting so much pressure on others to not be average that it'll stress out the person and they'll kind of lose all of their ambition because they realize that it's unrealistic, because with that kind of support they don't have that motivation because they know that they can't do it. So it's really cool that you have people like that in your life.
I think one thing about staying motivated is having a good support system.
For sure.
For some people that's their family, that's prayer, that's God, that's even self-motivating. Without that motivation, you're not going to get anywhere. You guys all have like a support system. Who would you guys say is your biggest supporters?
I would say my family definitely, but my big sister, she's my biggest supporter, but also my biggest role model. Just watching her grow up and achieve the things that she's done, especially at such a young age, and see people look up to her made me be like, wow, like I can do that too. We grew up in the same environment, and she's just a very big role model to me. But like Andrew said, she's achieving her goals, but she's also has things that she's not going to compromise. She's stays in her faith. She keeps family first. So I just think it's important to have role models that not only are achieving the goals you want to achieve, but being the type of person that you want to be.
Would you say that has affected what you want to do in your future or the way that you want to live your life because of how she has?
100%. 100%. I feel like watching her, and we want to go to completely different places. She wants to be a lawyer. I want to be an orthodontist. So it's two opposite ends of the spectrum. But at the end of the day, a role model is a role model, and I can, learn things from anyone as long as they are putting themselves in a position that I want to be in. Because the end goal is not the big part. At the end of the day, I want people to remember me for the person that I am, not for the job that I had, not for the money that I made. I want people to know that this is the type of person she was and this is how she made me feel.
What about you guys? Your role models, your supporters, people that you lean on when things are hard.
God would be a highly yes, because I've been taught when I was young to look to that, to turn to that if family isn't gonna step forward. Like my mother taught me about faith at a very young age, and just piggybacking off of what you said, that's how she was raised as well. She was she grew up to put family first, to look to her faith, to not let anything hinder that, so that we would grow up to be upstanding citizens. In a sense, she doesn't want me to be in the situation that she is in currently. She wants me to be better, which is why ambition is such a big thing in my life. I like to look forward to better things to, in a way, help her or to show a sign of respect.
I would say my cousin. We grew up very close together, and she's just kind of the role model that I've had throughout my life. I would say she's like a big sister, but she's more like it's like in Liv and Maddie. I don't know if you guys have watched that, but like they say like sisters by chance, friends by choice. Like that's us most definitely. And she's just accomplished so much, and we're so close in age that it's just like, gosh, like that means that I can do that too. And I know that I have the support of my family and friends, but like just seeing someone so close in age, so close in like circumstance and how we grew up, like seeing that really just changed the course of my life, especially when she went off to college. And it was just so interesting to see how that played out. So I would definitely say my cousin.
Okay, I think that we have talked about, in my opinion, like just conversing the three biggest things that are required for you to truly push yourself through ambition. We are in the postseason of wrestling right now, and so we're trying to get our bodies to the best physical shape and get ready to compete at the highest level, because this is when states and playoffs are. And we have talked every single day about not just how you take care of your bodies, but getting enough sleep, and then also like taking care of relationships. What we have talked about here is support systems, which I really think we all kind of mentioned certain relationships in our life. We talked about boundaries, which can be certain things like sleep, diet, things like that, and self-care, which just be like making sure you're not pushing yourself too far in the limit. And so I think that wrestling has showed me that those three things and the things that we have talked about today are what are required to allow yourself to push yourself. And that's just because wrestling is a very tangible way for me to feel like ambition, because I would be in practice and I don't think I can go anymore. Like last week, we were doing 85 reps of up downs, and I genuinely at 50 thought I couldn't do anymore. My legs were giving out, and I just like boom, snapped. I realized I could just keep going, right? And I think that it's actually the same. Like that just represents what life is all about. We all want to be successful, but it takes true ambition to push yourself to what it takes to be successful. So now that we've talked about support systems, boundaries, and self-care, now let's talk about what does it take in your mind or in your life to truly push past when success becomes a choice. Am I going to succumb to my feelings, or am I going to be disciplined and keep working towards what it takes to get to where I want to be?
I kind of touched on it earlier about how I want my legacy to be how I made other people feel. And I think, my sister being my role model and her just being so inspiring to me, I want to be that to other people. So when I'm reaching for my goals, it's not for me. It's for my little brother. It's for my little cousin. It's for the girls at my dance studio. It's for the people who will see what I do and will be inspired by it. I just think that's really my main motivator. Like you said, to show your parents respect because you know that they want more for you, to do that for them and just honor all the sacrifices they made for me. I feel like that is what really pushes me. When I myself don't want to do it, I know that somebody behind me wants me to, and that's enough for me to keep going.
I have something really similar to that. I have autism, so that was really random, but I have that. So I often worry that sometimes I might not get the same sort of respect that people often get towards people who are neurotypical or anything like that. So whenever I'm in a bad place or whenever I think, oh no, I can't do this, I can't do well in ROTC, my staff position, it's too hard, I just remember there might be someone else with the same sort of situation that I have. And when they look at me, they'll realize, oh, anybody can do it as long as you have that ambition. And no one else had that same sort of situation as me. So I kind of just, except for my mom, but I kind of just grew up kind of thinking about myself, thinking what would be best for the people who can look up at me. I sort of wanted to be a role model rather than look up to my own role model, if that makes sense.
No, I really like that. Brissy, I especially like the part where you said, are we going to succumb to our feelings or are we going to be disciplined? It took me a really long time to realize that wanting something isn't enough. And the reason that is because want is a feeling. Want is, it's not a need. It's not something that's more, there's something more powerful than a want. And because want is a feeling, sometimes you'll just be like, well, maybe I'll do it tomorrow. You have homework today, it's due today, or it's due in the morning. I'll just do it when I get to school. But if that's not aligning with what you want, you can't have straight A's while doing that consistently. Procrastination does not help straight A's. So wanting straight A's is all well and good, but if you don't have the foundation for that, I think that it took me a really long time to realize that discipline is something more than just wanting something. So that really does drive me to go towards my goals and towards what I do want.
Shows just how important effort is to ambition.
Yeah.
All of our episodes, I think, tie in to each episode. They kind of build on the GR.E.A.T acronym or whatever. Each episode we do, we either reference past episodes or we build upon what we said last episode. Or things we say when we're not even in this room. We'll talk about them when we get in here. I just think that's so great. I'm just thinking about that while you guys are talking. It's just every episode, you guys add on to what you said before, or you just obviously none of you guys' stories has changed. You'll talk about things we went over in the first episode, and you'll bring it up now, and your answers are different, but that's because they've grown, not because they've completely changed. And I just really love that about this podcast.
I wanted to ask where you guys most frequently find yourselves pushing yourself with ambition, like where you kind of struggle but you push through that most often in your life. And this can be as simple as, like, genuinely where I was going to go is waking up in the morning and forcing myself to not go on TikTok or get off TikTok once I'm already on there. Like on a weekend when my alarm doesn't go off, I just want to sit there for hours, like succumbing to that feeling versus getting up and getting a good routine that will get the rest of my day really going, Like I really feel that almost battle in my head every single weekday. So I was gonna, like, where do you guys find yourselves struggling?
I think back during the sports season, back when I was wrestling, both wrestling and swim, just the drive from Meadow Creek to West Charlotte in between wrestling and swim, that's when I really had to decide, am I gonna go home or am I gonna go to swim? Because it's like, I could take that left turn and go home, but I decided every single day to go to swim practice right after.
How?
I just decided that's just what I wanted to do, push myself.
Going home is just like it's so hard to not go home sometimes. You have to realize that, like, you are doing something important for yourself. Going home is not going to help that, no matter how much you want to go take a nap.
Yeah. Brissy, you said something in a past episode. I don't quite remember what it was, but it's like that. That temporary feeling of, oh, I just drank this milkshake. Okay, that temporary feeling of, oh, yo, that was so good. then you feel bad later and you're like, gosh, I had 3 milkshakes. I should not have done that. So I think it's really just important to remember. And like, that's what drives me, especially, it'll be like school might not be hard at the time or it's not difficult, but there could be other like things like my home life or something personal going on. So like, it could be encroaching on that. So it's like, I really have to push myself and think, well, this is for me right now. You know, I'm happy in my bed right now. That I'm happy. But future me will be happy when I also have my law degree. So I really, that's my motivator, thinking of my future self. And also, like I've referenced so many times in other past episodes, Little Morgan, she's the biggest motivator in my life ever. Because I think of her and I'm like, yeah, she wouldn't want me to do this. She would want me to continue and get up every morning.
Yeah, kind of piggybacking off of that, I like to think about the work that I put in maybe last week, maybe even yesterday. If I let this temporary emotion drop a grade that I worked so hard for, what was the point? That's disappointing myself for something that I pushed for, I trained for. So I just feel like you don't let your temporary emotions cause permanent damage. Like I try to remember.
Well, guys, I've just been sitting here listening, and we have truly put together, like, I almost hear it, the formula for success that I've gotten out of this episode. And if you're listening and paying attention, you might have heard it too. But I'm hearing step 1 is you need to establish boundaries, support systems, and how you're going to take care of yourself, right? That's the baseline. From there, you're then ready to start working. But when work gets hard, we need a why. I heard your future self. I heard remembering your goals, right? But you need to have a why for when things get hard. And then the third is you need to practice pushing yourself. That means put yourself in situations that aren't easy. Make a morning routine that's not just getting on TikTok. Try a new sport like wrestling or swim that challenges you to become a better version of yourself. And when you practice pushing yourself, you're going to realize that motivation is a feeling, but discipline is a choice. And if you want to truly be ambitious, we got to be ready to make choices in our life, not just succumb to our feelings. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And I think that us here are all really practicing that. And that's something that everyone is able to do. You don't have to have a special talent, a special ability, but we're all able to do that. And I think that that is what ambition really represents. Any closing remarks?
I just say be great. That's all.
Just be great, guys. Well, thank you very much for joining us.
You have a brain, so
To our special guests, thank you very much. To those watching, thank you very much. We're looking forward to our last episode of the G.R.E.A.T series, but not the last podcast on trials coming out in the next month. Great, guys. Let's break it down.